Well, good Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to Bowling with the Fef, a platform to share your unique bowling story. It's all live on our YouTube channel. And we have a special chunk of shows that's starting tonight. As many of you know, the PWA Twin Cities Open is coming up next month, April 22nd through 24th at Cedarvale Lanes in Eagan, Minnesota. A lot of the professional athletes, the female professionals, are very excited to get back to bowling. It's been, I believe, since January that they've been in competition on the PWBA. But I'm going to stop with the guesswork because I've got two people who can tell me exactly what's going on with the PWBA right now. We've got Tennelle Milligan, the Director of Operations for the tour, and Brent Prentice, the owner of Cedarvale Lanes, the site of the PWBA Twin Cities Open. Both of you, welcome to Bowling with the Fef. We're so glad to have both of you here. What was that, Brent? Oh, turn on my microphone. That's what he was saying. Yeah. Can you say that again?
I said, thank you very much for having me.
It took a while to get up through all that, but technical difficulties, right? Brent will be here with us until it's actually time for him to bowl tonight. So we're not going to go so deep into his bowling story, although I know a lot of you want that, and we're going to get to that. We've got several of these episodes dealing with the Twin Cities Open to kind of get through, and then after which we'll kind of break it all down, kind of debrief afterwards, and then we'll get into Brent's story. But tonight we want to get to the heart of the matter, the PWBA Twin Cities Open. So Tennelle, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us, first of all, how exciting it is to be this close to getting back to competition after really what's been, a couple months since the Kickoff Classic.
Yeah, it was about 500 days since PWBA had bowled, when we had the Kickoff Classic in January here in Arlington, Texas. Ended on, in January, we crowned 3 champions to start off our season. So as you could tell, we've already expanded. We're going to crown 20 champions this year instead of 14. But a lot of that story, it does go back. Let's talk about Brent. It does go back to the start of his bowling career. Back in 1995, when I met him at the Coca-Cola Youth Championships, this poor kid, sitting there. So if we would have never met in the airport and him saying,
one?
hey, oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
I love to get to the good content right off the bat.
And him saying, hey, California, come over here. That's who I am. I'm California, right? And, this beautiful blossoming friendship and, all of the stories that we could tell, but we don't have time right now. But again, if we didn't meet back then, I don't think we have PWBA coming to a center.
Yeah. Brent, I'm lost for words, staring at that beautiful picture.
Oh, God. That hair.
Yeah. What I guess what was it like to meet Tennelle at that event?
Well, I remember meeting her. We were staying at, I think, the Syracuse college dorms, and it was 115 degrees every single, and there was no air conditioning, and we were hot, and I remember we having to take these school buses from the wherever, Syracuse, to the bowling center. And I remember one time Tennelle missed her bus, and she came on the bus and she was a wreck, and she's, I just thought, oh my God, this poor girl, I gotta hug her up, tell her it's okay to be. And it was Tennelle, and that's how I met her.
So kind of shared misery, it sounds like.
Oh my gosh, shared misery and 115 degree temps on a bus, no air conditioning in the dorms, Oh.
It was just, it was horrible. It was a lot of fun, and I remember her being a little late to her bus, and she had to hop on my bus to get there, and that's how I got to know her, honestly. Then I just been a fan and a friend ever since.
Sure. So, Brent, you had said you were there for a photo shoot, as evidenced by this wonderful picture. I'd love to keep it up for the entire episode, but I'm gonna do you a solid and get back to this shot. Oh, say that again.
It's enough. It's good.
So, tell me about the photo shoot. Why were you having your picture taken?
They took the top after all the qualifying throughout that week. They took the top 5, and I qualified 5th for the TV. There was a TV show actually in there, and then they did a photo shoot for that, and we got to go on. We got invited to go to the local radio station and get there, and there was a lot of pros that bowled. That Tiffany Stamborough was there, Neil was there, a couple others. I'm like, and I just went to the roster the other day thinking, oh, I know them. Yeah. So we had that photo shoot, and that was it. And I bowled well all week, and I got on the TV show thing, and I shot an all-spare game. Didn't strike one time.
Oh.
Well, hopefully that's different for you tonight.
Right.
Yeah, but it was fun. I'll remember that. It was a fun time. It was good.
Yeah.
A lot of stories came from that because we had the flight that was late. We had a death on the flight.
Oh.
Sitting next to Amy Bauman and I, and the lady passed away next to us. We had an emergency flight, and we had to land in Milwaukee. And when our flight didn't arrive, they told all the parents, because my parents actually drove out there. They told the people there was a death on my flight, and my parents were like, "Oh my God!" But yeah, it was something. But we got there late, but got registered. It was interesting week. It was fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool bowling.
A good bowling center?
Yeah, it was Marcel's Olympic Bowl. They have bays. They have like 8 or 10 lanes in a bay, and there was probably 84 lanes, I think there was, and it was really cool. I mean, like Tennelle would be way on the other side, and it was in 2 sides, wasn't it, Tennelle? Like each that, and yeah, very cool. It was awesome.
It was. They were just spread out, and you were in every bay was a different bowling center. I do remember that.
And then they had the top 5 in a bay that I didn't bowl in, so I was like, okay, great. There was the all-spare game.
But see, now all this time later, you've got a great memory and a great story to share about that, right?
And I got to meet Tennelle.
Right.
And now we have PWBA.
Yeah, so I was going to say, fast forward some time. I mean, Brent becomes part of the ownership group for Cedarvale. You are in this job. How does the Twin Cities Open then start?
Well, being new into the role in 2015, and now having to find centers across the country of who's going to host, I was like, let's dig in to see who I know. Let's see who I can hit up first. And Brett immediately was a first phone call. And, we were talking and have a lot of, great history. And him even saying, hey, I'm interested in having the women back. We need them here. And there was no hesitation. We're like, let's go. Are you following? Are you USBC certified lanes? Are you a member of BPAA? And do you pour Pepsi? Those are all our friends of bowling. So once that was a go and Brent was able to lock it down on his end, the rest is history.
I was going to say, this must be a match made in heaven, because Brent, you've been a fan of the PWBA for as long as I can remember.
I have. I probably more. I love everybody, but the PBA was on always when I was working at the bowling center. So when I got nights, I would watch the LPBT back in the day and watch. Well, you all know, as I'm a Lisa Wagner fan, everybody gives me so much stuff about that, and
I'm a fan of Lisa Wagner. Who isn't?
Me too.
So it's I've been a fan of the PWBA for years, just because I watch them and admired them, and I think they're great. And to have it in your bowling center that you own, it's quite. I told Tennelle multiple times. She's like, "What's it like hosting what's the benefits?" I said, "Tennelle, it's like a reset on my career. It's like a vacation for me it's a lot of work, but it's a vacation for me, and it resets me. It rejuvenates me from the day-to-day operations, and I get to watch bowling, and I get to have these awesome athletes inside of this bowling center that I've grew up watching it. Well, some of them, and then or see the up and coming ones, and it's just an honor. I love it. It's a rejuvenation for me away from my day-to-day normal stuff. I love it. It's awesome.
Tennelle, is it easy for you to be in that role of bowling fan as the work at these centers gets done? So when you come to Brent Center at Cedarvale, will you be able to just kind of sit back and take some of this in at some point?
You're funny. Of course not. I have to work. I do. As we get, I don't watch a whole lot of the bowling while I am working the event. It's a lot of the behind the scenes, helping with the scores and just, proprietor relations and just making sure. But Brent makes that easy for me. He allows me to do my thing. I don't have to worry about anything on the center. His staff is phenomenal. It's easy. It's turnkey. I have to just go in and worry about, are the rules being followed? Are we up and running? Is the website working? All of that. So I don't really get to watch a whole lot of bowling until we get to the stepladder finals. And I am watching the final games to make sure, again, rules are being followed. But as I sit there and I watch, I loved when someone wins their 20th title. That's exciting. I love to watch somebody win their 10th title. But there's nothing more exciting for me than to watch somebody win their first title.
Yeah.
And to watch history be made every step of the way. And to see some of our seasoned veterans that are still competing, even some of the girls that I competed with, and then the new girls, the newer athletes that are coming right out of college, or even, 16-year-olds that are coming to see where their place is in the professional world later on down the road. It's exciting for me.
Sure.
I can kind of guide them in a way to, again, make sure you follow the rules, but at the same time, help them understand, hey, I've been in your shoes. I've been there. I've seen it. Just worry about bowling. And that's another nice part about being able to go and work with Brent, is that he allows me to just let me worry about doing my thing on the PWBA side while he does his thing on his proprietor side. It works beautifully.
Yeah, we have fun.
Brent, is there maybe a moment or a couple moments during the two Twin Cities Opens that you've hosted that kind of stand out for you as your favorites?
Well, the very first one we hosted was live television. And basically the first time I've been involved in almost the production part of the live television, and the PWBA crew, the USBC, and then the other crew that was involved, and they were amazing people, but they were so relaxed about it. And I was a basket case because they kept saying, okay, we need this done and we need this done. And I'm like, yeah, but we go live in 15 minutes. They go, yep. I go, okay. Like, how are you guys? Oh, we don't have time for this. But you know what? We got it done. You just do it. And everybody sat down, and I think we went live, and I sat on my chair and was thinking, oh, this is cool, because it was live television. But everybody was kind of doing their thing, and it was like, it was so much fun. I mean, the whole place was torn up, and it was live television. It was awesome. So
Yeah.
that was what I remember the first and the second year. This fun. It was on Bold TV. Awesome. Bold TV is amazing. I spent during the kickoff class, I think I spent at least 100 hours watching it. And the second I remember it was Tanner winning her title, and Rocio. I got to know these girls. They're all every day's a memory when they're here.
Yeah. I have a background in local television, Tennelle, and I had a boss who always used to tell me about the plane being in the air. Once the show started, you know what? The plane's in the air. There's not much we can do as, newsroom managers to really alter what's going to happen then. When you're in that stepladder final, Is there kind of a plane is in the air feeling for you and the folks who are working these tournaments?
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's on live television or on Bull TV, or even if we don't have either one, it is hey, the show's going. And we run the shows as they were live. There's no, oh, let's stop and redo. It's you go. But everybody knows they're run a show. We have it in place. And all that we have to do on our side of it, ensure the athletes, hey, just look at us for the cues. If you need something, nothing changes. Nothing changes for you. You perform. If you need a re-rack, just let us know. We'll get it taken care of, but the show doesn't stop. We still have to roll. And you know what? Sometimes you look like that duck on water, right? You're just floating along. It all looks great. But underneath the surface, you're paddling. But guess what? Nobody needs to know that you're paddling. You just kind of go, yeah, we can get that. Hold on. We'll get that. No problem. But the plane, you got to keep it in the air.
Yep.
Until it's ready to land.
When she said duck on the water, I was afraid she was going to say deer in the headlights.
Well, sometimes that happens too.
We've all been through it. Tennelle, what can you tell us about this particular event? You've had, this kickoff classic, and you've had to go through all kinds of different rules. You've helped create those rules and protocols to keep players safe, to keep the thing going. So now we've had a few months, a few weeks, several weeks, maybe a few months to kind of reflect on that. What can people, and especially these athletes, expect when they get to Cedarvale and they participate in the Twin Cities Open?
So again, I just have to go back, to Brent and his team, and I had to make a phone call and let him know, hey, in order for PWBA to happen, we can't have fans this year. No fans. Sorry. No spectators. It just can't happen in order for PWBA to happen because we have to keep the athletes safe. We have to keep our athletes as safe as possible, the staff at Cedarvale as safe as possible, and our staff on PWBA as safe as possible. Not that that wouldn't be done on their end, but it's on us. Mm-hmm. So again, once we had the kickoff classic, we were in a bubble, complete bubble. The ladies had to come in early, test. You can't go out. You can't do this. There was a lot of rules. And it was tough, even for us staff members who lived in town. And I see my family in person for 2.5 weeks. I had a bubble as well. So what's new in this one, and again, thanks to Brent and his staff, we're still continuing to say, yes, we're going to still host and have a place for the ladies to play, but no spectators. So that's completely different this year, but you can catch everything in its entirety on Bull TV from start to finish. The ladies do not have to bubble for this event, but we are requiring testing. You must submit a PCR pre-arrival test. You have to submit that before you can play. And it has to be negative, clearly negative on their end. And we're going to continue with our protocols and procedures, which you can see on PWBA.com. We have them posted for each of the stops. You have to wear your mask, whether you're vaccinated or not. We're still keeping that in place. And that's what we're finding is going to be the best thing right now in this time that we're living in to continue to have PWBA. So thank you to Cedarvale Lanes and a few of our other hosts at the beginning that love bowling as much as they do to say, yes, we're still committed.
Yeah. Brent, she's kind of detailing this, and I'm thinking to myself, is there anything she could have said that would have triggered you to say, nah, don't come?
No, not at all. Well, at first when she told me, I said, "What do you mean no bowl with the pros and no spectators? How the heck we were closed for 6 out of the 9 months?" But honestly, this time of the year we're not that busy. But I wanted to host this event for professional bowling and to bring joy to our other bowlers too, to watch them. It's just not a thing for Cedarvale Lanes. It's the bowling community and our bowling friends. Those are the people we want to have happen. And I want, and we're just going to make it happen. And the nice thing about it, Tennelle, she knows the business point of it. She knows the bowling point of it. Running the tournament, and she did say to me, I mean, in our couple of conversations, just, you have to make the right decision if it's good for Cedarvale Lanes and not, or not. Can you do it? And she goes, I remember her saying to me, it's okay if you can't do it. We're not going to say, well, Cedarvale didn't turn it up, et cetera, et cetera. They were so cordial, the USBC and Tennelle, the PWBA. She told me, and they were just so nice and cordial about it because they understood maybe we might not have them these 3 events. We don't know how the proprietors are going to feel, but we're going to do it. I immediately felt that I wanted to do it. The only time it probably wouldn't happen is if the PWBA just called it off. That we're going to make it happen, and it's going to be a good event. And these girls we need to see their talents, and those girls need to get back on the lane. Period.
Yeah.
It's bowling. And whatever's good for bowling means it's going to be good for us.
Absolutely. That's a great way to think of it. And I'm sure all the athletes appreciate that. Tennelle, is there a way to know who's coming at this point? I mean, there is a roster of exempt players on the PWBA website under the details for this event. Does that mean those players will be there? Those are the only players that will be there? There will be others?
So at this time, the roster that you see, it hasn't been updated for a few days, but yes, that's where you can find who's going to be entered, who is coming to Cedarvale Lanes. The athletes you see online right now are only PWBA members because per our rules, we have a 21-day priority for our membership. So once 21 day hits, that's this Thursday, the field will then be open to our first come, first served basis of our non-members. So there's already a few that have signed up. You just don't see their names yet. And in that window, once I go in and I approve them on Thursday, then the roster will start getting updated. So as of right now for that, I do have about 8 non-members who are there. There's always room for more, except we are limited to a full field of 80. 80 athletes is a full field based on lane beds. So,
sure.
And that's a full field. And currently we're in about 60 members. Let me look real quick. We're at about 60 members that are registered. So we're looking to have a really good field of competitive bowling in this unique state that we're living in, the COVID-19 world.
Yeah.
The ladies want to come play. And for those who, aren't comfortable, again, it goes back to, it's okay. Don't worry. We still love you. We understand it's okay. But for those who still want to play, we're here for them too.
Sure. I know Brent's got to get going in a minute here, but I want to take the time to thank him because this series of shows wouldn't be possible without his partnership and the partnership of Cedarvale Lanes. So thank you so much for helping get these guests on, these terrific guests that are going to really get us ready for what is, I'm sure, going to be a terrific event at the center.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, every time I get in contact with the girls, they said what time and when. I mean, they're the best. Another reason why I'm posting. They're awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I got to make a fool of myself back at Cedarvale.
There's some good mojo that comes with appearing on this show. So I'm hoping you turn out a good score tonight because then I wouldn't have lied to you just now.
I'll text. In a week, and then Tennelle, we'll see you in a couple.
I'll talk to you before then. We'll get all our ducks in a row.
Right, and swim in the bottom. All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks again, Brent. Really appreciate it. So now that Brent's heading out, we can
off to bowl some honor scores.
Off to bowl some honor scores. We can now we can tell the truth about him. No, I'm
yes,
kidding.
let's. I got my water ready.
You got your water ready? Yeah. I do want to know, though, how does Cedarvale compare to the other venues that you visit as part of the PWBA Tour?
Well, each one is so unique, and everybody has their own. I love them all. I mean, it's like traveling to a family. So I'm just this little orphan kid that travels from stop to stop, and I got a new family every week. So, going to Cedarvale again, meeting Brett back in 1995. Yeah, we're older here, folks. So going all the way back and just being able to tell stories, and we've stayed in close contact. So it's not just going back and meeting with, okay, yeah, this is his business, this is what we're doing, but it's going back and being with a friend.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy.
Sure.
They all make us feel so welcome. Always checking on us. Are you okay? Do you need something? But the uniqueness, the years passed, and he's hosted the live television. He's hosted a Bowl TV finals. We are truly going to miss those fans that were coming through the doors. We miss them, but please tune in to Bowl TV. Converse through the chats. We'll have some awesome stuff that happens the entire week, or I say the entire week like it's a whole week here, but the 3 days that we're on. So that's what, the uniqueness is the fan bases for each one. But yeah, we're going to miss them. We're going to miss them, but I know they'll be watching, and this isn't going to be forever.
Right. Yeah. And hey, at least we've got competitive bowling in this extraordinary time that we're in. So, we can be thankful for that. You talked about going back in time. I'd like to go back a little further in time, because the basis of our show on a regular basis is to share people's unique bowling stories. And you certainly have, a story where you were really had, built yourself into one of the best in the game at one point. But I want to know how it all began. Where and when and how did you start bowling?
Oh, geez, let me get into the couch. Back in, no, I'm just, all the way back. I come from a bowling family. My parents bowled, grew up in a bowling center, had older siblings. So I was 3 years old to go with my parents to the bowling center, just growing up back in Orange, California, just loving the game, didn't bowl any league. But when my parents were done bowling their league, I asked if I could throw some shots. They would always let me throw a couple. Yeah, turn on the lanes. Tennelle will throw some shots. And my parents said I could join a league when I learned to bowl with one hand. Oh. Because I was bowling with two hands back then. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew? Right?
You were almost like a pioneer.
Curses, parents. But yeah, so that's how it all started. And then, being the baby of the family, I wanted to do with what my older siblings did. And I wanted to be better than them.
That always helps, right?
I wanted to be better. And my sister was a really, really good bowler. She just didn't care anymore. She's like, hey, I don't want to do that. So then when I started beating her, I was like, yes. And it just kind of spiraled from there, bowled in Southern California, one of the best junior programs in the entire country. Got to travel all over. So I was very fortunate to be around really good people.
Sure. Was there a point in your junior career that you saw, I'm kind of keeping up with the other bowlers here, maybe even beating them. I might have a future in this.
Yes. Again, in Southern California, I grew up where, Stacy Ryder, Anne Marie Dugan, just Donna Adamick. I watched her on television. There was the Western Women's Professional Bowling Association. They had tournaments that traveled all through California, and I tried my hand at a few. And my coach at the time, he was Stacy Ryder's fiance. He's like, oh, go bowl, go try it. I was like, I'm not gonna try it. Yeah, you can. Go try it. And I'm like, no, I want to go bowl Team USA. I want to try out for Team USA. It's like, why do you want to? You can't buy steak with gold medals. Why are you bowling for that? Go bowl professionally. So he really pushed me, and we went to events and started, making the cuts. Went, kind of surround myself with other people like Barry Asher, Hall of Famer Barry Asher. I worked for him for many years, and he's like, kid, you got it. Go get it.
Yeah.
Like, these people want to blow smoke up my butt if I if I didn't have a chance, right? They're the ones who kept me grounded to say, go practice when I suck. So
was there any high school or college program that you were involved in back then?
No, there was no high school bowling. I bowled, all during high school, but we didn't have a team. There was none of that in California. So I didn't get to experience that. But once I graduated, I did look around at a few colleges. A couple declined that I will not name, said, we're not interested. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Thanks. So for about a semester there, I did join forces with a few other folks in my area that their colleges did not have bowling teams. And we got to go bowl a few events as a co-op team.
Sure.
And we did okay. We finished in top 5, not too bad. And then that's when, I wasn't going to buy steak with gold medals anymore. And I went on tour instead of continuing my collegiate career.
Sure. You started off winning right away. In a big way. First of all, was there something that told you were ready? And was that kind of, I guess, justified or when you started winning, you thought to yourself, yep, that was the right decision?
I don't know if you ever know if it's the right time unless you just do it. You have nothing to lose, right? If you completely have a horrible time, horrible experience, then you make your decision from there. When I went out on tour full time, once I stopped on Team USA, resigned, went out on tour. It was right after my coach, Jim Lee, Stacy Ryder's fiance, had passed away. He had passed away of cancer the summer before I had gone on tour. And it was really, his brassness that put me out there. I could hear him in the back of my head saying, what are you going to use, a pot holder to clean your bowling balls? Go kick butt. He was always just digging. So that was my, hey, I have nothing to lose. I'm going out on tour this year. And I had a lot of great support from the folks around me, including, Carol Giannotti. She was one of my favorite bowlers. Her, Wendy McPherson, they took me under their wing. They're the ones who said, come on, kid. And they showed me the ropes while I was out there. So to me, that means a lot.
Sure.
I don't think I would have been able to be as successful unless somebody showed me the ropes, told me, hey, we do this. Hey, don't do that. Kind of guided you there. And I think it's the same way now. You have to have, for those new girls that are coming out, those veterans, they do a nice job of being able to say, all right, kid, this is good. But for me, I think that's why I was so successful, was because of the support from the ladies that were out there.
You mentioned earlier on that it's so special to see these ladies win their first title. Your first, if I'm remembering correctly, was a U.S. Open. How special was that for you?
Yeah, just some small event, right? I'd never bowled a U.S. Women's Open before. Never bowled one. That was my first one I had qualified, because back then, again, kind of similar now, you had to qualify through, a state qualifier or somehow through a professional rank. And because I was a professional bowler, I got to play. I'm like, okay, get to bowl in the U.S. Open. Awesome. and it just kind of, I like the grind. I like the hard formats. I like the spare shooting. I felt I might not have been the physically, shaped bowler that you see today. I was much bigger person back then, but I was strong mentally. I was very strong, even physically, to a point that your adrenaline just keeps going. But the U.S. Women's Open qualified, they were really hard. I remember them being just so hard. And man, it was, every night just exhausted. And then making it through, and we got to bowl with the men at the same time. And every other pair was, women's pair, men's pair, women's pair, men's pair. And of course, I'm still a bowling fan. So I got to watch the greatest players next to me. It's like, whoa, there's Pete Weber. Okay, don't double jump him. You might come crying at me or something like that. But I wasn't a scared bowler. I was pretty confident in that. But again, going, whoa, I get to watch Mileto Monticelli over here, Walter Ray, even the ladies. I mean, they were legends of the game, and I'm bowling against them. So it was just really special. And then, of course, making it to the TV finals. They were, a gentleman named Chad Murphy. He's the executive director of USBC. He was a ball rep back then and working, and he helped me out a lot that week. I'll never forget it. He was right there, and Jim Lee had already passed away. And I've told the story a million times, so to any viewer that's seen it, I'm sorry you get to hear it again. But he had this thing that he always did. He always would blow on the back of your neck, he'd walk by and then you're like, leave me alone. But I'll never forget, after making the TV show, staring at the pins, just standing there. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to bowl for a title. But I wasn't scared about bowling for the title. I was scared because we were going to a big old convention center and bowling on brand new construction lanes. I was nervous about that. But I had felt like somebody walked by and blew on the back of my neck. And I turned around to look, nobody was there. And at that point, kind of knew I got a chance.
Yeah.
And then the next day came and bowled against Carol Giannotti, somebody I looked up to, the GOAT now, Liz Johnson, and then an amateur by the name of Kelly Kulick.
Wow. Nothing like an easy stepladder for your first time, right?
Yeah. And somebody's like, oh, no idea. We're just bowling.
Yeah.
The wise words of great ball reps that I, encountered, and Chad being one of them. He knew how to say things, especially to me, because I don't like to have sugarcoat, but he told me, he goes, all right, kid, ball reaction sucks. I said, what? He said, your ball reaction sucks. You're going to have to go out bowl them. He goes, you're going to have to go do it. Your ball reaction sucks. Sorry, I can't help you anymore.
Well, at least you knew where you stood, right?
Yeah. So it sucked so bad I shot 240. So
there you go.
I'm all right.
You did fine. That second major you won that year was the PWBA Hammer Players Championship in Rockford, where again you win an eliminator match with Tish Johnson, Carolyn Doran Ballard. You defeat Anne Marie Dugan, and finally Wendy McPherson for the title. I mean, these are premier players at the time. They're all Hall of Famers now. But it looked like you had both the accuracy and the ball motion that day. I mean, you were swishing out that 7 pretty consistently while the others were kind of struggling. What went so well for you on that show?
I think it was the validation. Being up there again against, these are the women who were going for player of the year, player of the decade, bowler of the decade. I mean, these are phenomenal athletes that, again, I've watched on television. I've watched them. I admire them. I wanted to be them. And, nothing validates your career like that second win.
Yeah.
And for it to be another major. I mean, I didn't think about that stuff back then. I just thought, okay, you're going to just bowl and have fun. This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
This is what you wanted to do. And to win 2 majors in 1 year. I mean, I didn't know. Maybe it was just because I got married the same year. I needed some money or something.
I happened to watch that show afterwards, and you had mentioned, hey, I'm getting married soon, and you were so happy to win. But I noticed that Lisa Wagner asked you after the show if anybody at home helps you or gives you pep talks. And you mentioned family, and a lot of people have family support. But as you said earlier, Barry Asher had, a place here. He had influence on, what you did and was a help to you. And you said that he really gives me a little edge and helped keep my head clear. What was it about his coaching that really helped you do those things?
I mean, and that's coming from a man who couldn't get going. That's what ended his career, right? He couldn't get going, but he gave me all of the right guidance as somebody who played at a high level, somebody who knew the struggles, somebody who knew what it took. And I worked for him when I was home and not bowling. So he allowed me again at that point, go be free, go bowl, go concentrate on that. Don't worry about anything at home. We'll worry about that when you get home. But he just kept it also clear into perspective that if you had a bad block, so what? You can't bowl the next block with that. Nope. Nobody's going to remember that. They're going to remember what happened at the end. The only time they remember who wins.
Yeah.
And he was always showing, he'd always do this. He'd always do that. And that's the book. And are you in it?
Okay.
That's it. It was the clear picture.
A few years later, in 2003, you won the Greater Memphis Open, which would prove, unfortunately, to be one of the last events that year. How did you feel like you were doing as a competitor at that time?
Well, I didn't feel I hit my prime yet. That's the scary part for me. You go back and you look at the history of who performed well in their career at what age back on the tour. And a lot of those ladies hit their prime when they hit their 30s. Yes, they had success in the early ages, but once they hit their 30s, I felt like you became such a smarter player.
Yeah.
And never got to really hit my prime. And not just me, but a bunch of us.
Sure.
How scary is it that Michelle Feldman, at that point, she was just getting into her prime. Brenda Norman, well, Brenda Mack now, she's just going in. Jennifer Swanson, Tiffany Stambro. I mean, Kelly Kulick was just getting on the scene at that point. Could you imagine if the tour never went away? What would have happened? But yeah, never hit my prime.
Yeah.
And to be told by John Summer, I will forever be in debt to him to continue as long as he could with the PWBA. And to see him come to us the week prior with tears and to say, okay, ladies, a couple more weeks, this is it. What do you mean this is it?
Right.
And then, hey, 12 years later, this is it. It's for that event. I mean, it was do or die. So might as well make the best of it.
Yeah. Did he ever explain why it had
There's
to
a lot of it. John dug into his own pockets. He dug into his own pockets as much as he could. The sport world for women at that point, just didn't look well. I know that they were working hard, and as an athlete, I didn't dig into it. I didn't worry about the operation side like I do now.
Right.
I didn't worry about that. It wasn't my place.
Sure.
All I worried about was throwing the ball down the lane. But yeah, I just know that when a grown individual comes in and he's just sad, and then you see it for even the other ladies who had been around for a long time, and knowing, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
That was tough. And then to wait out for a few more weeks, oh, it's going to come back. Somebody, and we waited, and then a lot of us decided, okay, we're either going to go bowl other places, or we're going to go and find other jobs.
Yeah. There was a newspaper article that I read from the Orange County Register from August of 2007, where they quoted you as having said at the time that you knew you had a future in the sport, but you weren't sure what kind of future the sport would have. And that's got to be a daunting thought. I mean, what did you end up doing after that?
Well, I went and bowled the women's series. They did have a women's series that the WIBC, USBC, they helped fund along with the PBA. So I qualified for that. Luckily USBC still had the Queens and the US Women's Open. They still had some events for us to bowl. So we got to bowl a few of those. Try to stay competitive around locally. And then just continue to work with Barry. Continued to work with Barry until 2009. And that's when my husband was offered a job in Arlington, Texas. I call him the bowling nerd. And he works in equipment specifications and the research side of it. And, he allowed me to chase my dream. We, from the time he, not allowed, but encouraged me to, is what I meant to say. He's not like, oh, I allow you. But he encouraged me, supported me, and allowed me to go chase my dream on tour. We had a great marriage because I was gone a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But so in 2009, when there was nothing, and I wasn't going to go chase the PBA Tour, just had no desire to do that. Those guys were way better than I wanted to be at that point. Yeah, so when he was offered a job, he's like, what do you want to do? I said, now it's time to go chase yours. And that's how we ended up here.
Yeah. What was that like starting out in the job that you're in as director?
Well, the funny thing is when we got here, I mean, who knew that this was going to happen? We moved here 2010. Actually, no, sorry, 2009. We got here in January, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll wait for tour to come back. Never did again. So luckily, I got to work in the Bowling Foundation, and then we had a child, little Abigail, in 2009. So I was mom for quite a bit, and then I wanted to get back in the working field, and I came into the campus working with BPAA and just working on the youth side. And so I've kind of held a lot of different hats, working through youth programming, Team USA, high performance side. And then one day these two gentlemen roll into my office, Mr. DeSocio and Mr. Murphy, and say, hey, you're interested in working with PWBA? Like, really? Yeah. So I thought about it long and hard for about 10 minutes.
I've heard that when I was going to say, I've heard that when you get a job offer, you typically know right away, even if you take the time to think. You kind of knew, right when you got that offer, what your decision was going to be.
Yeah, yes, I did discuss it with my husband, of course, so he can allow me to do it. No, I'm just kidding. So he could support me in the decisions that it was, that's a lot. But at the same time, I mean, they felt that I could step into a role along with Damon Sirocco, who was the PWBA operations manager at that time, and work with him to help continue professional bowling.
Yeah.
I mean, that I was honored. So of course I didn't want to turn down something that was so grand and made so much sense to me, because I still wanted to be involved. And when it came back, I was like, oh, yes, it's back. I cried the day that they made that announcement. And then, a year and a half later, here I am.
Sure. Was it different the second time around, other than, the players involved, obviously, but was there anything different about it from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. It is different. It's different in the sense that it's created for the working woman. PWBA, LPBD, back in the day, I mean, our long season, we would travel for 9 weeks on the road, 3 weeks home, 9 weeks on the road. I never went home. I didn't see family and friends for months at a time. We would bowl practice sessions on Sunday, bowl at the pro events for 3 of them in a day. And then you would bowl your qualifying, and TV shows were on Thursday. And then you packed up and you drove 600 miles to the next city. And you had time to do laundry and, maybe sleep. But so that's completely different. Where now we have a practice session on Thursday, and, in a normal environment, we would have a bowl at the pro on Thursday night. Friday would be qualifying. Saturday would be, continuation, and then your finals would be Saturday night, and then you'd fly home on Sunday. So the working woman, again, let's get home, put in some time if you worked, but then again, allow those ladies that you don't have to take that much time off to come and be a competitive bowler. So yes, that's a completely different world. But it worked. Mm-hmm. It worked.
Yeah. And then after a few years, the pandemic starts. And there is a point again where the tour has to be canceled due to those issues. That must have been awful for you, having to kind of go through another stoppage after having gone through the 12 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It brought back a lot of oh gosh, we have to cancel our season. And believe me, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, not just from me, but our entire staff. And when I say entire staff, I'm talking about USBC, BPAA, our partners, everybody. We're trying to find ways to make it happen safely. And it spiraled out of control more so than I think anybody really knew what was happening. And then state shut down, bowling centers shut down. So how can we go anywhere? Ladies couldn't get on airplanes. It was completely shut down. But what I looked at it as is we just canceled a season. And I was trying to explain to some of the ladies that would call and say, we're done. Ladies, we are canceling a season, not a tour. We're not going away. We're just on hiatus. We didn't, call you up and say, no, PWBA is completely gone.
Right.
It's, hey, let's be patient, see what happens. And then, of course, during that whole time, from the time that we canceled to the time we announced, hey, we're coming back. We were working. I can bring up probably 30 different documents that was ever changing from everyone, within these walls. And I say these walls because I'm in my office here and outside, that we were trying to figure out a way. And yes, I've done some work, but the crew that I work with, they lost sleep too.
Sure. Yeah, I remember that announcement from Chad on that live stream where he said the PWBA is coming back, and you started with the Kickoff Classic. This is uncharted territory. How to do this through a deadly pandemic. All sports have to deal with this. You had basketball doing one thing, you had baseball doing another. You guys ended up in a bubble situation. Tell me how that all worked out. How did you get that done for those events?
Well, again, all this gray hair, all comes from that.
That's where it came from?
Yeah, it all just came from that, not my 11-year-old at all.
Right.
Again, it goes back to the staff that I am fortunate enough to work side by side with. Rob Gottschall, Greg Moore, we have our HR team here at campus. I mean, they are COVID-19 experts. I mean, they could probably just have their doctorate now because of how much they know and how much they've looked into it. And we sat in rooms and put together all these scenarios following along CDC guidelines. What are they saying? What are they doing? What are other major sports doing? We followed a lot of what, who's baseball using for testing? That's who we use. We use those same labs that we send our test to that MLB did. That's who we're sending our test to, finding out. And of course, every sport's different on how they can, fans but again, a lot of them didn't allow the fans either. So again, sleepless nights, a lot of research, and then finally narrowing down, when we had to present, what are we going to do? Do we roll? How are we going to do this? And we all agreed we will roll if we can do this safely. And we proved to do it safely. Every lady who was here on site that took their test was all negative. And they followed the protocols and procedures that were put into place. And not just the athletes, but even our manufacturing partners that were on site. They went through the whole thing too, completely from start to finish. And it worked. Now, is that something that we can do all the time? No, we can't do that all the time because they're independents. They don't work, for a team. So it's a little bit tougher.
Sure.
And again, things are loosening up throughout the country, around the world. But we continue to stay on top of what CDC is guiding us.
That kind of thing, as you kind of alluded to, takes buy-in from the people who are doing it. Was it tough to get these athletes to buy in, or were you pleasantly surprised to see everybody kind of falling in line and doing what needed to be done without too much nudging?
Well, of course, it's all new, right? It's all new, not just for them, but for us. So in order to have really good communication out there, not just putting something on the web and saying, okay, follow along. We conducted player Zoom calls. We had player meetings. We called everybody, hey, log in at this time. We're going to discuss what's happening. We wanted to have constant communication with our athletes and with the manufacturers about, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what it looks like. Hey, ask away. We ask them questions. Is this something that you think is doable? We listen to what they would say as well as what our experts say. Luckily we have a few folks who bowl PWBA who work in the medical industry. Thank you, Aaron McCarthy. Thank you to Brenda. Thank you, Kim Adler. I mean, thank you to all of these ladies who gave us their opinions, their expert opinions, what they see, what they're hearing, what they're doing. So we just kind of work through that in those protocols. But again, just to have that communication, take their questions, go back, and have the staff here look, hey, can we do this? What can we do? And just continue to have communication. And then, of course, the buy-in. When we finally said, this is what it is, we had another call and said, this is what we're doing. If you're on board, this is what you have to follow. If you're not on board, that's okay. We'll see you down the road.
Right.
It was okay. It wasn't, we didn't want anybody to think that, again, PWBA hates you because you didn't come bowl. It's not because you didn't support. Centers weren't open for them to practice. Not feeling comfortable, maybe wearing a mask, not being comfortable traveling, being away from their families. Their jobs might not have allowed them to travel either. If the job could have said, hey, nope, sorry, you go there, you have to come home and quarantine for 14 days. Some people can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to reassure our players, of course, it's okay.
Sure.
But again, to make sure that the players who did buy in, who did commit, which they did fully and completely, that we were trying to do it as safely as possible for them.
Yeah. So let me tell you about my perspective leading up to that event, because it's a little challenging too. So I was thinking, hey, how cool would it be to have one of the athletes on this new live stream to kind of preview the Kickoff Classic? And let's see, I'm not, I don't have, friendships built up with, PWBA athletes, at least not just yet. But, let's see who's doing social media and who seems accessible. So I reached out to a couple, and I ended up booking Verity Crawley. And we were going to do an interview just like this the week before the Kickoff Classic. That Friday before our interview, she comes out on social media and says, oh, I got to go back to England. I'm having visa renewal issues. I unfortunately can't bowl. I can't be here. I've got to work this out. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to fly back to my hometown. She graciously kept the date of the show. I did it at 6 a.m. Central. It was noon there for her. And she explained everything. You could tell she really missed, the opportunity to compete. And since then, she's been able to fly back to the United States. She's planning to compete once again. In her social media posts, upon coming back, she said that she's so thankful for the PWBA that she wouldn't have been able to travel without them. So I guess the question then is, how did this go for you, and what did the PWBA do to help her out in really a time of need?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to get the phone call from Verity, because she was signed up. She was registered. She was signed up, ready to go. And she said, Tennelle, I got to go. I have to go back. And she explained what happened. I was like, what do you mean you have to? And you can't fight that system. You just, she didn't want to take any chances and not be able to come back later. Like, Verity, we will take care. We got it refunded. Don't worry about us.
Right.
We get you your money. We refunded her entire money, and and there is a tour. That was I think part of it, to be able to help. Not just for Verity, for our other international athletes, is for them to be able to see, hey, yes, PWBA is having a tour, so it does help their cause, helps their fight to show, yes, I am coming back. And as we do for all of our athletes that request, we write letters on their behalf, who they are, what they've done out here, how much they mean to the PWBA Tour and to bowling, how much they mean across the world to every little girl that looks up to them, what it means for them to come back and to compete on this tour. So yes, we had letters, and we've written many of them for many athletes across, and helping them getting, hey, can you send this to this person to help me with my visa? Yes, absolutely. We get them everything that they need. So, Verity, Daria, Shaolin, I can go on and on, Birgit, all over the world. we're a big international contingency here. We have huge international presence. And the PWBA needs and wants them. And as much as I think they want to be here, we want them here too. So we will continue to do everything that we can in our powers to get them back over.
Yeah. I told her something that really kind of runs parallel to what you just said. I told her during that interview, I said, look, I can't comment on the policies and what's causing this, but I'll tell you that the PWBA is better with you in it. And, I believe that to this day, and I'm very excited to see her, be able to compete again, and Daria once that happens as well. Stateside, we have a 16-year-old that you've talked about at length named Jillian Martin, who really made some noise at the Kickoff Classic, who ended up winning the PBA Junior Finals in the girls division. Have you seen anybody with her talent at this age, and what makes her so good?
I think just that she is so relaxed. She may be that duck. Those talents, they are far and few between, when they're here. I mean, the last time I remember seeing somebody at that young of an age, that much talent, geez, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know who that may be. But she is just so poised and confident and conducts herself in such a, professional level, her training, and I think that goes back to her, in the conversations that I've had with her, of her still being a kid. She still does normal stuff as a kid, as much to be as normal as possible. But when it comes time to train, she's training. And she's just a joy. And I think a lot of that goes to, she doesn't have any bills to pay with that. Except her college education.
Right.
But she's just relaxed. She's a cool cat.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's, you had mentioned earlier that, hey, we've got this exempt list and, we don't find out who the non-members are. But I would imagine if you don't know that she's coming to Cedarvale, you got to hope that she's coming, right?
Well, it all just depends on, the schedule for her too, because we have, rules on how many events that you can cash in the PWBA Tour in a season without having to join. With the PWBA Kickoff Classic, all our classic series we're counting as one event. So even though there's chances to cash 3 times, it's one event. You can't go back and be like, okay, you're in, and then the last event, oh, sorry, you're out. It is one event. So, maybe she thinking summertime when school's out, she can come bowl the Summer Classic Series. Mm-hmm. Why not? It's right back here in Arlington, Texas. She's had great success there.
Sure.
But yeah, we'd love to have her when she's ready to come out full time. But in the meantime, we encourage all the athletes, anyone who's not a member, give it a go, try it out. See where you stack up against the world's best women bowlers. I mean, why not? What do you got to lose?
Right. Are you doing any bowling these days?
Bowling? What's
that? You're exposed to enough of it at work.
What's that? What's bowling? Not right now. Not right now for me. When COVID hit last March, I was in a league and our league stopped, and then summertime hit and nothing was open. And by the time it was, we were just prepping again for tour, and I couldn't commit to a league, and I'm still competitive. So, to put in the time for practice, I just wasn't doing it. I did go and bowl a few times downstairs at the ITRC just to see if I still could. So that way I could still use my little, threat on tour that says, hey, You want me to come out here and bowl? I'll come bowl. Or do you want me to stay back here and do the scores and help you?
Right.
But yeah, not too much. After the summer, I do plan on bowling again at some point.
Sure.
I like to do it. It's still fun.
Yeah.
6 more years, I'll be 50. I can hit the senior tree.
There you go. What do you think the future holds for you in this position? And do you have maybe some goals or a goal that you haven't reached yet?
Oh, goodness. Bowling every weekend. Why not, right? For PWBA. Why not? The goals here, just continue to grow our sport, crown champions. As you've seen, we're going to crown 6 more than we did the years prior. We're going to have 20 champions this year. 20. It's been a very long time that we can say we had 20 champions.
Yeah.
Very, very long time. So, baby steps, growing the PWBA, getting, the word out there, even to other qualified athletes. Take a chance. You never know.
Yeah.
And, just continue to grow it from the grassroots level, making sure the regional program, that was running really well right before COVID hit. We started the regional program again. Right now, we have to focus on our national tour, but regionals are still on the horizon. We're still working on it. Stay tuned for more details. But until COVID-19 is behind us, that's the hard part. And then as for me, just continuing to be a nervous wreck for that young lady bowling for her first title, being the nervous mom on the side, still trying to be all professional and very stern and got to do this, but back in the back going, oh my gosh. Yeah, I still get sweaty palms. And to see the joy in their eyes of that first win is always a thrill for me.
Yeah, I bet. And that's great. If you have sweaty palms, that means you care each and every time.
I care a little bit.
Just
Don't
a little.
let too many people know.
On our program, we finish things off by going off the sheet. And how we do that is we ask you to challenge somebody else, and skill level doesn't really matter so much as it's somebody with a passion for the sport and a unique bowling story to tell. So, Tennelle Milligan, who would you like to challenge to appear on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Well, can I challenge a few?
Sure.
All right. Because I'm pretty competitive, so I'd like
the more
to
the merrier.
challenge some folks. But for some good stories, I always, we're celebrating so many people that are in the present. We celebrate those folks, right?
Right.
But again, being a bowling fan, don't forget about our past. And one of them, we spoke about him tonight, was Barry Asher. I'd love for you to get Barry on here to tell some of his stories, his trials and tribulations of what he's gone through. It's interesting, the folks that he's met and been around, and when bowling was in its, I call it its heyday, back in the day stories. Those are always fun. And maybe have a couple, surprise guests along with them that can help tell those stories. But another person I'd like to challenge, again, a fun challenge, always entertaining, is Tish Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Tish Johnson has some good stories. She, again, another one that I looked up to from being from Southern California and being a little, come on, who's this kid? Yeah. That's me. I'm that kid. But she's a wonderful woman, wonderful competitor, and her story now, I think, goes a little bit beyond, where she's really focused on helping grow the game.
Yeah. Those are really two all-time greats, in my opinion. I would love to have either, both, any combination. Barry, Tish, if you're watching, please reach out. You can direct message me on Facebook. We have a group called Bowling with the Fef. Either that or email me, bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. We would be happy to get you on the schedule. Before we go, our next live stream is coming up the first Monday in April 5th. And I do have a guest booked for that next live stream, excuse me. And it's somebody you know pretty well, Deandra Asbeatty. We're calling it Level Up, and it's going to be on at 6 Central on the 5th. Do you have a favorite story or anything that you could say about Deandra to kind of lead us into that?
Oh, Deandra is just a gem. She is truly a gem and a worldwide traveler. She's been through so much, from starting at a young age to now, mentoring kids and having her own youth tour where she allows the kids to grow the sport. She's continuing. She's taken, gotten a lot from the sport, and now she's just giving it all back. She's all in on that. I was very fortunate to call her a teammate for a few years, but Team USA got to, get in the battles with her on the field. We battled together. We went to the Pan American Games together, and we won a gold medal together. Wow. So she is truly out there to just, bring out the best in others. And I may not have known it then, but I know it now.
Well, that's great. Again, coming up April 5th, 6 p.m. Central. Tennelle Milligan, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time and your perspective. And for anybody who's interested in seeing the Twin Cities Open, where do they go?
You log in to bowltv.com, not just the Twin Cities Open, but the entire PWBA season for 2021. You won't want to miss it. A lot of exciting things will be happening on Bowl TV. Matter of fact, this week they've got the USBC Masters that will start tomorrow, and then followed up with the US Open. Just a couple small tournaments.
Right. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. Continued success on this tour and thereafter, and especially at the Twin Cities Open, which we've talked about start to finish here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Love it. Get those challenges out there. I'll send them some messages.
Absolutely. We will do that. Thanks again, Tennelle. And again, we hope to see you next Monday, April 5th, 6 p.m. Central, for our show Level Up with Deandra Asbeatty. Until then, be just and fear not. We'll see you next time.